Okay, this out of the way. Edit. 3, 2, 1. Ladies and gentlemen, here we are in beautiful Spring, Texas today with a couple of fine gentlemen, and we are at a Gus Cargile gun show, essentially. And in fact, he's going to straighten us out on that in just a moment. This is, in fact, Gus Cargile. And, of course, this is Will Thompson with RB17. And Will is, among other things, a very fine promoter and also a very fine chemical engineer. Am I correct?
Thank you.
Well, we're so pleased to be down here with these good folks. We've got a tremendous show going. And this young man here in the middle is going to be telling us some of the things he's doing. And they had an interesting thing here in the local paper here this past week. So, sir, why don't you start us off? Tell us about your gun shows and how you go about promoting them.
Sure. Johnny, I retired like 4 or 5 years ago and got back in show business. And we promote about 35 shows a year, mostly in Texas. It's really, honest to God, it's a very profitable hobby for me, but it is a hobby because I'm already retired. Like I say, we run shows. This show has 500 and some odd tables. The gate's very good. The dealers are all happy. We're a very much dealer-orientated type show. We get a lot of compliments from people that travel around the United States on our courtesies and stuff like that, and we got a first-class bunch of dealers here, Johnny.
Well, I would like to compliment the crowd. It's just terrific. I know a lot of people are concerned about coming legislation, and I know they're out buying ammunition and whatever gun they can buy without going through a lot of government red tape or some unknown paperwork at this time. But there was an article in this past week's Houston, Houston Chronicle.
Yeah. Well, it was it was an infamous article. We get stepped on all the time. But I think that a newspaper or any news media has a responsibility to report the truth. Now, when they come up, we have bumper stickers. I'm not Vietnam veteran, I'm World War II. I'm older than that. I put these stickers out because half the kids in the United States don't know Jane Fonda ever did anything. They're not, they don't know it. So I have this thing, Vietnam veterans will forgive Jane Fonda when the Jews forgive Hitler, okay? And you see this forgive Jane Fonda is big, and people wonder, what in the hell is he talking about, forgive Jane Fonda, So then they move in closer. Here is a guy that wrote an article, and he sold it to, I don't know who all, but he sold it to the Houston Chronicle. And in it, he starts off, the allure of killer weapons. Okay? Right in here it starts off, they step from cars and pickups with bumper stickers such as Vietnam veterans will forgive Hitler.
Which is entirely untrue. That's not, as we can see.
It's just as factual.
Sure.
If the guy can't read this bumper sticker and quote it, he's the same guy that thinks the 357 Magnum will blow an engine out of a car, and that James Bond shoots down helicopters with PPK. And from there on out, here we go. He makes a crack. Many have come here directly from church. Praise the Lord and pass the ammunition. Now, isn't that wonderful? Senior citizen draped in Hong Kong polyester. Hey, partner, we have got a better cross-section of the United States here than they have in any shopping center in town.
Well, I would like to add, here we are in a shopping mall, and of course the show, and we're going to be walking around the gun show here and photographing some of the things on the different tables, but really we're seeing an extremely, like you said, I feel completely safe walking around this gun show, whereas I wouldn't feel as safe walking around some grocery stores in town.
You're a lot safer in this place than you are any place in Houston. Harris County, this is the safest place in Harris County, including the police department where they shot 2 of them down there one time, So this place is safe. But this guy says it's a market of mayhem. There's everything from phobias, single shots that could bring down a large animal, handcuffs, concealed boot holsters, just absolutely. A guy from Pennsylvania that wanted to make a buck and wrote stuff like this, and the terrible thing is people print it and they act like it's the truth. Now we've asked the Chronicle to come back and give us equal time. And I asked for a reporter that's ever fired a gun in anger or one that has an open mind. That's all we want. We just want them to write what the heck they see. In the Valley last week, we had a kid write a nice article. He came in and he said, at the gun show, I saw ammunition, I saw hunting knives, I saw hunting weapons, I saw shotguns, rifles. he named jewelry and an AK-47 that looked as much out of place as a hearse in a 4th of July parade. Because that's not what we're all here for.
No, certainly not. And that's a good point. You'll find people here, literally all sorts of things on display, from woodwork and earrings. In fact, we see whole families here at this gun show, and it's something that's interesting for almost anybody. Now, the only people that I really don't think would have any interest here would be the gang types, because they're not here. They're absolutely not here. And these weapons that, in fact, we're going to be seeing some things that there are some tremendous misconceptions about. We're going to look at some real automatic weapons in a little while.
Oh, yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with collecting military memorabilia, because, you know, that puts us in touch with something real that we can feel from a lot of these lives that were lost in efforts to defend this country and protect our way of life. There's nothing wrong with that. And it all comes down to, this is a group of some of the finest people overall that you're going to find anywhere in the country.
We cash checks, Johnny, up here. We don't get 2% bad checks. For all these dealers, you ask them, what other shopping center cashes checks for everybody walks up? You know, I mean, no. We have a good group, and we're very proud of it.
Well, we appreciate it very much. Will and I are going to be walking around and doing some interviews with different people, and we appreciate it. Go ahead.
Yeah. Johnny, that I'd like to say, Gus, how many people do we have out here, would you say?
In here now?
Right.
We've had over 3,000 walk in gate so far before noon.
If we had, and how many police officers do we have here? One, right at the door?
One at the door.
Okay. If we were at a rap concert or something like that, if we had 3,000 people here, how many police officers were they mandatory?
One for every 50 people, really.
We'd have to have 50 police officers.
Yeah, 50 police.
That ought to say something.
I think so. I think so.
We don't have troubles here. All of our guns are tied at the door. Dealers keep them tied. We have ammunition all over the place. We're lucky, but we work at being lucky. You know, a guy that's very successful, they say, the guy's lucky. He works all night to be lucky.
That's right. He creates his own luck by hard work.
But we can't throw a guy out because we don't like the way he looks, but we can watch him like hell.
Well, that's one thing. If there's a potential problem individual that comes in, there are enough decent people around that something will be done about it.
People on my payroll in here now. I've got people all over the place.
And I know that's one thing that you folks I've heard you talking about earlier today, is if someone looks a little strange or they look a little bit out of order, well, let's check them out. Let's see what it is. Because you know what, friend, we still believe in the individual. We still believe in individual responsibility. And we appreciate so much Gus letting us come down today, and it's a great show. And who knows, this may be an endangered species, that of the gun show.
Let me tell you something, Johnny. I had a guy, a very, very sharp businessman, young guy. And he came to me and said, you know, you gun dealers are really thinking the wrong direction. I said, we are. He said, yeah. He said, you think you're getting a lot of business because of Brady Bill. He said, all right. Back in November, December, the Brady Bill thing came up, and I said, I'm going to get me a gun if I want one. I got a gun. He said, now I have 3. My sister said, maybe I need one. My law partner bought one. He said, I've sold probably 10 guns. Now, I joined the pistol club. He said, see, you're wrong when you think that it's a panic. It's not a panic. It was a panic to get it started. You got a mushroom. I'm going to keep on buying guns, and everybody in my family are, you know? And the guy next door don't have a gun, say, hey, what am I doing? All these guys got them. I need me one. So when the Brady Bill comes into effect, it may be a little awkward. But it will still go. One thing more, and you bounce this off of somebody, ATF or whoever, because it's an idea and it's something come up. Any licensed dealer can now receive a weapon from an individual in his state for repairs. So we'll say a dealer is sitting here at this show or at the market hall or HGCA or wherever he is, I don't care where he is. He's sitting there. A guy buys a weapon from him, a pistol. The dealer says, how about a trigger job for $1? Fine. I'll have to do it at my house and send it to you. So you make out your paperwork. He faxes it to the sheriff's department. 5 days later, he UPS's you that gun.
Well, that could work.
It will work.
Well, we applaud so much what you're doing. And friends, we'd like to remind you, gun is not a dirty word. It is not a 4-letter word. It's a 3-letter word. And some of the best words there are, in fact, are 3-letter words. Right. So we appreciate so much being here with you, Gus. I
appreciate you coming, John.
Great.
Thank you. Oh, I'm good. I don't soak up too bad.
All right, sir, it's your convenience.
All right, Johnny. Ready? Yes.
Just pick that up and talk right.
Yeah, all right. Time Life called us and wanted to come to our show in San Antonio. And brought down a very nice reporter. He spent the day with us. They came out with enough. In here, we only got about a paragraph and a half or 2 paragraphs. His reporting was fine, okay? But this enough, I believe gun dealers, I believe gun people have about had enough. We're getting walked on, fellas, and we're not doing anything wrong. Everything we're doing is square. And I think a lot of our trouble is we're really trying to play by rules. But we're dealing with people that don't play by rules, that lie, cheat, and steal. Now, it's hard to say that you're not against people or something like that, but we've got some rights. And there's no use in standing there and getting picked on day and night. I don't know really what we can do except bring heat. Now, in our area, the representatives we send to Washington are not gun people. That's our fault. I believe the only way we're going to be able to change it is to get the right people in Washington. I cuss the NRA all the time, verbally to their face, because they can't do anything. But, in a way, if we send them better people, they could do better. Now, I think Oliver North is a big start. And he is sweet, Virginia. Thanks much. He's 6 weeks old, and it's his 3rd show. Ah, yeah.
What's on his back, Gus?
Saxon.
Do you see that, Johnny?
Just like what's on the back of all of our shirts.
How old is he, Gus?
6 weeks old.
6 weeks old.
He's 6 weeks, and it's the 3rd show. I got one next week, too.
He's cute.
His name is Stephen Brooks. He's my 10th grandson.
10th grandson.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Stores that you would find for industrial cleaning. Most of your industrial solvents have an explosive content in them. Most of your commercial fertilizers have a large explosive content in them. Explosives can be made from anything.
As a matter of fact, I believe in New York, didn't they use the
commercial fertilizer
right.
and diesel fuel to make the explosives that they detonated under the World Trade Center?
So you would say unequivocally that you cannot arm that grenade, right?
No, you can arm it. I would not do it safely, and it is not done safely. And people that try to do that, I would consider them a Class 1 idiot. Because it's just too much trouble. You're bucking for trouble with the federal government. It's too much trouble to try to do it safely. And there are lots easier ways to make an explosive device if you really want an explosive device.
One more time.
They were never made to explode. When the military uses them, they put a standard fuse onto this piece right here, screw it back into this, and then they give them the military personnel that are training for hand grenades. They go to the grenade range and they throw them. When the fuse goes off, this hole in the bottom of this grenade is designed to have the force of the explosion of the fuse come out of this hole. Therefore, this grenade was never designed to be used as a live hand grenade and cause the fragmentation that a true hand grenade is made. The reason that this hole is here is so that the force of the explosion can be vented out. Live hand grenades do not have that hole. They're a solid bottom all the way across. My pleasure.
3, 2, 1.
Hi, Johnny, we're out here now with just some average citizens. Now, the press has maligned us saying that we have crazies out here at the gun shows in camo. We have people out here that should be put away. Let's take, and we're going to interview an average person right on. I've never met you before, have I?
No.
And what is your name, sir?
My name is Jack Summers.
Jack Summers, and your name, sir?
Wayne Hyde.
Wayne Hyde. Jack, what do you do for a living?
I'm an attorney.
And you, sir?
Police officer.
Police officer. Okay, and you see any people out here that you would classify as crazies or lunatics or anybody like that, or do you just see the average American person out here that we used to have that was safe to go into a shopping mall?
I don't see anyone here that makes me nervous.
Gus said this would be the safest place to be. Now, you being a Houston attorney, you being a police officer, what would you say? Would you say this would be the safest place you could be in Houston right now?
probably pretty close to it.
I'm also commissioned as a police officer. I work as a volunteer as a police officer, and I'm not wearing a gun here today, although I could. I'm not concerned about my safety here at this show.
Let's say if you went to one of the shopping malls in Houston, would you wear a gun?
Yes.
That's what I thought. Thank you. Thank you very much.
You bet.
All right.
3, 2, 1.
My name is Stephen Davenport. I'm the author of Hardened Target. This book is my own creation. It took 6 years through 42 states, Canada, Mexico, involving over 30 law enforcement agencies, federal, state, and local. I interviewed over 1,000 criminals, victims, witnesses, judges, lawyers, and law enforcement officers. This book is written in the belief that people can take responsibility for themselves. All they have to do is read this book. They have all the services listed to them to act for themselves within the bounds of the law. After that, we take you into the realm of self-protection, which is preventing any criminal act against you, whether it be physical, credit, character, anything. Because your insurance agent can get you, so can your lawyer, your doctor, anything. It's just a matter of common sense. Ultimately, should you be in a position where you have to use self-defense, that comes down to another thing. You have to act within the bounds of the law, or you'll face criminal charges yourself, even possibly civil charges. So this book gives you everything you need to survive this next decade, because as we see it, transgressions are coming in leaps and bounds from all avenues. Everything eventually becomes a matter of trust. Either you have it or you don't. Then you got to find some faith somewhere.
Stephen, you said... Stephen, you told us that you're running for office. Would you please tell us what you're running for?
Yes, I am the proposed candidate for Congressional District 7 here in Harris County. The incumbent is a Republican, Bill Archer. He's been there 23 years. And as I see it, the Democrats didn't offer up any opposition, and he's no longer the head of the Ways and Means Committee. He's dropped down to the minority leader in that. And he's sort of like a lame duck president. He's there, but he's not really doing much.
So if you were elected, you would be pro-gun, right?
Yes, I would. Guns is, to me, a right. After that, it becomes a privilege. I believe in gun management through safety, instruction, and the proper use and knowledge when to operate that.
I don't think there's anybody that's trying to say that we shouldn't know how to operate a gun, and gun courses are great. I think they should be taught in school.
Absolutely, absolutely. If you understand, the Boy Scouts, which is one of the first and best organizations, was a matter of taking young boys and training them in a code of honor, a code of ethics, how to react to people and the public, to do civil service.
Right. Wouldn't you say we've emasculated the Boy Scouts, though?
It's a possibility, yeah. That's true.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
How would you get this book, Steve?
All right.
3, 2, 1.
Steve, if you wanted to purchase your book, where could we get it?
Well, you can go to any of these gun shows and pick up a copy. Sometimes I'm here, but there's other vendors that carry this book. You can order it through the publishing company, Shield Publishing Company, 8524 Highway 6 North, Suite 277. Houston, Texas 77095. The price is $19.95 in paperback, $24.95 in hardback. Texas residents include the tax and $3 for shipping.
Thank you, Stephen.
Thank you.
We'd like to introduce you now to a good friend of mine, Colonel Aaron Adler. I've been knowing Aaron for about 8 years. When I first started RB17, he was one of my very, very first customers. And we're going to ask Aaron some questions here about what do you think? You've seen gun shows for years. Are we a bunch of crazy lunatics? Or?
Absolutely not. If you're a lunatic, half of the American public today are lunatics. This country was founded, as you know, to bear arms. Back in the days of George Washington, right on through up until this date. But they didn't have the problems then that we've got now. It's a big difference. And it's so easy, real easy, for people to cop out and find an excuse. And that's to blame it on the weapon. Weapons don't kill people, people kill people. And basically, so many people have these weapons and buy these weapons, don't know the first thing about a weapon. And if they go ahead and buy a weapon, it goes more and beyond a manual that they get with it. They should go out on a range and know how to take that thing apart blindfolded, know their weapon. And another problem people have today, that they don't handle their weapon enough. They'll take it out 2 or 3 times a year, and a person that does that basically does not deserve a weapon, whether it be a shotgun or a pistol. They have to keep that weapon clean. They have to know that weapon and know how to use it. And if they do that, there'll be no problems. As far as all of the problems today with these youngsters and these weapons, the easiest thing in the world is to blame it on somebody else. And I do. I blame their parents for it. I put a lot of time around these weapons. I've put some time in the military. And believe me, that weapon is there to defend and protect you, but you've got to know how to handle it. It's just the same thing as a car. If you don't know how to drive that car and know how to handle it, you're in trouble. Same thing with that weapon. You can kill with a car and you can kill with a pistol. It's just a matter of knowing how to handle things.
Well, we talked to a Houston police officer who said he's not carrying a gun out here, but he said that I asked him if he would carry a gun if he was in Greenspoint Mall, for instance, and he said definitely. Would you concur with that? Safe out here, but your life's in danger in the mall, right?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. The unforeseen. You've got to understand what's going on today. And we've got a gentleman right here that wrote a book.
Yeah, we just talked to him.
And believe me, if you would read that book, it'll tell you all about it. What is going on today is basically most of these youngsters, as everybody knows, there's a breakdown between family, religion, school. There is no respect. And it's going to take a whole new generation to go back from point A to start in to gain these things back. And along with that is the problem of dope and narcotics, which is a very bad thing, plus a lot of laziness. So these youngsters don't want to work. They go to a movie and they want to be macho, and they don't want to work for it. They don't want to go join the Army and put 2 or 3 years in to be macho. They want to go watch a movie and go out and try to hurt somebody. And basically the other half of these youngsters will go out and buy narcotics, and it depends what they're on, basically can hurt somebody and will. And as long as they get by with these lenient laws, and I've always said all you got to do is put a death penalty on the narcotic, not necessarily the man using it, but the wholesaler, and give him a death penalty, and believe me, it'll stop all this foolishness.
Swift, sure, severe.
And but it's a big business today, and believe me, there's enough big people in the business world as well as in Washington that's got that hand out. And until they get this lined up and straightened out, that will continue.
The only way we can stop it is at the voting place, right?
Absolutely.
You've got to quit talking about it and get out and do it.
You really have to.
And something else, too, that I've noticed is the people out here at the gun show, people walking around here, is basically this country's last hope. I mean, if we don't get together and put things together, we are the majority, and we need to realize that fact, and we need to show it at the voting place. Do you agree?
100%. we have time for everything else, but we don't take the time, and so many people are guilty not to get out there and make a decision and vote and get on their congressmen and senators. That's where it lies right there.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. You know, before I had RB17, what I was a PR man with a bunch of Houston Oilers, created a bunch of things, and I told Johnny at the SHOT Show that I feel so strong about this that I'm going to come out of retirement and I'm going to do exactly what I can do. Of course, we got to keep RB going, people, but
absolutely,
it's going to take a lot of people doing a lot of things to save our way of life.
Everybody's going to have to buckle down and not leave it up to the next person to do it. Everybody's got to do their equal share. And until that is done, why we'll have, if we don't do that, we'll just have more problems.
That's right. Thank you, Aaron.
Enjoyed talking to you.
Johnny, I want you to kind of look around out here, and you'll see that we have children, we have families out here, we have all walks of life. And you notice you don't see any of these people in gang colors, or you don't see anything like it's out of the way. You see the way America used to be. And we can bring it back like this again if we work together, people. And that's what it's going to take. It's going to take people going to the polls and voting out the people that we've got there now. If you don't like them, the only way to do is vote them out. 3, 2. Johnny, we got another guy here. I've been knowing Lynn. Our daughters were in drill team together, and we survived it. And yeah, right. That's interesting. Lynn McDaniel. Lynn also has a gun company called Guns Are Us, which was just the subject of the maligned article that appeared in the Houston Chronicle this weekend. What do you got to say about them doing that to your name, Lynn?
Well, I'm very upset about it. Nobody contacted me to see if I had the name registered or not.
The guns that you sell hunting rifles or just all kinds of guns? Or?
I sell hunting rifles, sports rifles, and handguns.
Now, you being a parent, me being a parent, and I know your daughter and you know my daughter, would you sell somebody a gun without registering, or would you sell a kid or a gangbanger?
No, I would not.
And that's pretty well, wouldn't you say, the attitude of everybody out here?
Yes, sir, I would.
And the people that you see that the media is showing on TV, that's not us, is it?
No, it's not. I'm very upset about it.
And what do you think we can do about it?
Well, we all just have to get together and stay together on all of the questions and everything. We just have to stay together on it.
I told Johnny just a few minutes ago, and Lynn knows what I did before. I did the auction for them and everything you can think of. I'm coming out of retirement again. I'm going back into PR, and it's for one thing. It's to get the anti-gunners.
Right.
And we're going to need some help. We're going to need networking. And we want to thank the Johnny Rowlands Shootin Show, because we call this friendly TV.
Very much so.
Definitely unfriendly TV out there that we know.
Yeah, it's everywhere.
And are you still upset about Guns Are Us?
Very much so. I will have a comment later on that.
Okay, you're going to do a press conference or something like that? Or?
We hope to.
Okay, let me know.
Okay.
Thank you, Lynn.
Okay.
Do is ask you your name and how long you've been, working with weapons and assault. We're over here at another booth, and I'll ask this gentleman his name here, and then I'm going to turn over to him and ask you to answer some questions about some real assault weapons. And your name, sir?
Ray Amerson.
And Ray, what have you got to say? You've been in this how long now?
I've been doing this about 13 years.
About 13 years. And a lot of questions. Can we see a real assault weapon?
Certainly.
We've heard a lot about them and seen a lot of these fake ones on TV.
Well, this is a real one.
This is a real one, okay. Can you tell us about it?
Basically, this is an H&K MP5K PDW. It has a selector which will allow safe, semi, 3 shots at a time, or full auto. And an assault weapon requires the full auto or 3 shots at a time. Any semi look-alike would not be a full auto or assault weapon classification.
And what would you call a semi-lookalike?
Oh, Colt AR-15 is probably the most popular.
Media uses that a lot, don't they?
A whole lot. That and the Uzi is probably the most prominent.
Okay, and those are, what would you classify those as?
Those are semi-autos military lookalikes.
Right. And if I wanted to purchase this, what would I have to go through to own this gun?
Basically, it's a simple procedure, but you file 2 passport photos, 2 fingerprint cards, a $200 check, and that goes to the ATF. It takes them approximately 90 days to do a background check, which time they'll verify whether you have a criminal background. If it comes back clear, then they will issue the permit for you to own it.
Does it have to be okayed by anybody else, or?
Well, you've got to go through local law enforcement. This was done back in the 30s because communication was slow, and it just verifies there's no local ordinances you'd be in violation of.
So if I wanted to purchase this, I would first go to the Sheriff's Department and then get a clean bill of health and then go to the ATF. Is that what you're saying?
That's correct.
Okay. Now, if I own this weapon, and I'm going to ask you another question, has there ever been anybody that is a legally licensed, owned, fully automatic person commit a felony that you know of?
As far as it's been able to be determined, there's never been an instance of a legally owned weapon being used in an illegal act.
So basically, they're just fun to shoot, right?
That's it. It's big boys' toys.
Well, you know how you tell the price of the boy and the toys. And this little critter right here, what do you use to? No, I won't do that. I won't do that. Anything else you'd like to add?
Well, basically just the common thing you'll hear from most people, that the law is against the guns and the legal people won't do it. It's the criminals.
That's right. And to protect our rights, what do we got to do? Go out and vote, right?
Make noise.
Make noise. Thank you very much.
Certainly.
Okay. Edit. 3, 2, 1. Hello, I'm Johnny Rowland. Try it again. Edit. 3, 2, 1. Hello, I'm Johnny Rowland, your host of the Shootin' Show, and please bear with me. I'm hoarse today because we talked to so many people all day. We talked to so many people yesterday. Try it again. Take 3. Edit. 3, 2, 1. Hello. Edit. 3, 2, 1. Hello, I'm Johnny Rowland, your host of the Shootin' Show, and welcome again to the well, I'm trying. 3, 2, 1. Hello, I'm Johnny Rowland, your host of the Shootin' Show, and yes, I am hoarse today. We talked to so many nice people at the gun show down north of Houston yesterday. Please bear with me. Yes, I do have a cold, and by the time we edit this, I hope my voice is back. So please bear with me today. We're so glad to have you. That's pitiful, isn't it? I say we're so glad to have you, and we have a great show for you today. I know you're really going to enjoy. One more time. Try it again. 4. Hello, I'm Johnny Rowland, your host of the Shootin' Show. And yes, I am hoarse today. Yes, I do have a cold. And we talked to so many nice people yesterday at the gun show north of Houston. And we have a feature on the gun show on today's program. I know you're really going to enjoy it. Please bear with me today. Hopefully by the time we edit our program this week, I'll have my voice back. I hope so. Anyway, we have a great show for you. We have an update on the Branch Davidian trial down in San Antonio. I think there are going to be some things you're really going to be interested in. Well, let's start another Shootin' Show. You know, we have a water jug down here. I have a couple of targets, in fact, out at 100 yards. And let's start off with our Colt Sporter. Okay, of course we applied our safety. But now then, that's nothing terribly unusual for a fine, accurate rifle like this Colt Sporter. But let's do something a little different. Let's take our Wesson 3-inch barrel. You could darn near call this a snubby. The good folks at Britton's in Shreveport have supplied us with. And let's take a Winchester silver tip and watch a steel plate over on the right. Let's see what happens. Yes. So we're going to be taking a look at this a little closer in just a moment, but for a 3-inch revolver, people say that the snubby type revolvers are not accurate. Well, they hadn't tried a Wesson yet. Okay. Edit. 3, 2, 1. You know, friends, a lot of people would say that a short barrel revolver would be inaccurate. Well, they just haven't tried a Wesson revolver. Let's try a 3-inch fixed barrel Wesson supplied to us by the good folks at Britton's in Shreveport. Let's try it out here on the steel plate at 100 yards. All right, friends. Edit. 3, 2, 1. Again, please bear with me. Hopefully my voice will come back shortly. Anyway, we're looking at this tremendous Wesson. As you saw, just because it has a shorter barrel length does not mean that a gun cannot be accurate out at long range. The only thing that you'll have to do differently when shooting at long range, and let me do this over. Sorry, Bill. Heck of a day. I'm getting there. Okay, try this again. Edit. 3, 2, 1. Yes, friends, it does get cold in Louisiana too. Please bear with my voice. Hopefully it'll come back soon. Anyway, we're looking at the great Wesson fixed barrel 357, and a lot of you have seen the fixed barrel guns on our program before. We thought this was so neat because it has the excellent adjustable sights, which of course you can regulate for your intended load. And with a 3-inch barrel, you get the advantages of a smaller handgun, but you get the 6-shot full-size capability, certainly of the 357 Magnum cartridge. This gun will really, the only thing different you'll have to do when shooting, say, at longer ranges than you would, say, with a 6-inch barrel revolver, you have to be a little more careful on your sighting. You just have to take a little more time because you do have a shorter sight radius. There's more room for error. But again, if you can master shooting the principles of sight picture and get a good, firm, steady hold, and of course with the tremendous single action triggers these guns come from the factory, they're really easy to shoot well. This gun would qualify, one, as a tremendous backup gun, but tell you the truth, it would qualify as a first gun. You get the velocities, you have a 3-inch barrel, you don't get quite as much velocity, say, as a 4 or 5-inch barrel, but they're pretty good. With the excellent Corbon ammunition, with the 125 grain bullet, it will break 1300 even from this short barrel. To give you an idea of what these guns are in comparison to some others, the frame size is very similar to the Ruger GP100 series, whereas the cylinder size is the same diameter, that is, as a K-frame Smith & Wesson. So this means you can use the same speed loaders that you would use for your K-frame Smith & Wessons, yet you have the strength of the heavier duty revolvers, say, such as the L-frame Smith & Wesson and also the GP. I'm trying. The GP series Rugers. You have the strength of the heavier guns, but it's a little bit narrower. It's a little easier to carry. It doesn't take up quite as much space. Actually, it's about the same size as a government model of 45. There's not much difference at all in them as far as size. But for those of us who like the reliability of a revolver, the ability to shoot widely varying loads all the way from 38 special wad cutters up through laser safety slugs or even 180 grain 357 Magnum cartridges, it'll sure do it. And of course, in a lot of areas now, the semi-automatics may get hard to get, or there may be some problems. Well, trust me on this one, friends. With one of these Western revolvers, you're not underarmed. In fact, a good 357 Magnum revolver is probably as good a defensive weapon as money can buy. Well, just for the sake of a demonstration here, we have our 45 ACP, and watch this in recoil in my hands. Again, a 45 is not a tremendously hard recoiling gun, but you would think that this smaller Wesson with a full charge 357 Magnum would be brutal, but with these excellent hoe grips, watch this. It just doesn't have a whole heck of a lot of recoil, even with the short barrel. And I'm going to lend part of the credit for that to the engineering staff at Wesson Arms. The system really does work well. Let's go over here to paper and take a couple of quick pairs on our paper and compare the 357 with the 45. Edit and come back in. Edit. Edit 3, 2, 1. All right, friends, let's go over to paper here, and we're going to try a couple of quick pairs, which for a lot of people is more difficult to shoot with a 357 Magnum than it would be with a 45. So let's take a look and see what happens. Okay, we're out. All right, edit 3, 2, 1. All right, friends, as most of you know who are more veteran shooters, it's very easy to shoot control pairs with the 45 ACP. So let's take a look at this. Okay, here are our two holes right here, about 1.5 inches apart, rapid fire. All right, let's try the same drill. All right, edit. Edit 3, 2, 1. All right, friends, let's tape our, sound like Andy Devine. All right, let's go ahead and tape our target so we'll know where we did or did not shoot. Okay, let's try that same drill with our Wesson 357 Magnum. Well, we proceeded to blow the tape off, but here are our two holes right here. So let's get a look at that. Okay, edit 3, 2, 1. Now then, friends, here were our two with a 45. All right, here are our two with the 7. So you can see the point of this is you can rapid fire these tremendous Wesson guns even with full powered ammunition as quickly and as accurately, say, as even the .45 ACP. Okay, edit, 3, 2, 1. All right, friends, looking at the Wesson up close, you can see these very fine Hogue, extremely comfortable Hogue grips. And of course, the Wesson, the cylinder latch is here on the crane. And of course, the ejector rod here, we have very fine adjustable sights. These guns are so well made, friends. I'll tell you what, if you're looking for a revolver, we know the people that build these guns, and they just are first quality all the way. They're also very economically priced. So these are terrific guns. Edit. Edit. 3, 2, 1. All right, friends, we're going to load our Wesson. Go ahead and push the cylinder out there to the left. Take our HKS speed loader and line up a couple of those holes. There we go. And just turn it. Of course, our revolver is loaded. Close the cylinder. All right. Edit. Now then, let's take a shot. Now then, friends, for double action. All right. Well, it's getting so dark I can't hardly see down here. All right, friends, let's take a shot. Double action with our Wesson. Out here, we're actually, the target's at 25 yards. And pull through. Edit, 3, 2, 1. So friends, as I was saying earlier, this will be a tremendous backup gun. Let me do it. 1. Try this again. Edit, 3, 2, 1. As I was saying earlier, this would be a tremendous backup gun, for that matter, a tremendous first gun. And we're so impressed with the quality coming from Wesson Firearms, and I know you will be too. We'll take a look at it anyway. Oh. All right, we'll take our shot. Edit, 3, 2, 1. Hello, I'm Johnny Rowland, your host of the Shootin' Show, and welcome again to this week's program. I think we have another great show for you. Of course, I like to say that every week because we think we do have a great show for you every week. We certainly try hard enough at it. Today we're going back and do a couple of more features on the Safari Club International program last weekend. We're also going to feature a couple more of J.D. Jones' terrific custom handguns and long guns, and I think you're going to be certainly impressed. Well, friends, the Brady 2 is up for consideration. They're working on that right now, the second version of the Brady bill. More legislation designed to take guns away from you and I. Okay, the socialists in Washington, and that's what they are. It's time to quit being nice about it. You've got to call these people what they are. They're using Nazi tactics, and we're going to show you later on in the program. And incidentally, we have this book for sale through the Bullet Express explaining how the roots of American gun control, certainly what we're having to deal with now, are based on Nazi regulations, Nazi ideas. And so we ought to call them, I guess, the Nazi socialists. I don't know, we'll come up with a good name for them, I suppose. But that's what they are. In Washington, D.C., there are some on local levels, some on state levels around the country. And the reason we're seeing this on state levels, one, is to gain favor with the socialist Nazis in Washington, who are happen to be in charge in a lot of areas right now. Friends, we can't let them get away with it. We've got to stop them, because they're not going to rest until anything that goes bang, anything that shoots, is out of the hands of the American public. Now, you can count on it. You know, they don't worry so much about the criminal because the criminals are not who they perceive as their main threat. They perceive you and I, the basic, decent American citizen, as their threat because we're the people standing in the way of their socialist one-world government. Now, we don't want it. And doggone it, we need to let them know, and the only thing we can do, we've got to get them out of office. We've got to get some decent people in charge in Washington, D.C., and we're going to do it. And we're going to tell you some ways to do it, and we're certainly working on it at every opportunity with this program. And incidentally, now is a good chance to join our Shootin' Show Gun Club, because by joining the gun club, you're doing a lot of things, one of which is helping us reach more and more people. You're supporting our program, supporting our efforts to show the rest of America who don't or may not know much about firearms or shooting. Let's show them what it's really about. Let's show them that we're, in fact, just real decent people who only want to be left alone, who are out enjoying a sport or, in fact, defending our lives and our homes on occasion. It certainly does happen. The American gun owner, the honest citizen, uses firearms in defeating a crime or stopping a crime many, many more times than police officers do. So shouldn't we have the right to keep and bear arms? It was so important that our founding fathers put it as the Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States. There's a reason they did it. They weren't talking about sporting firearms. No, no. They were talking about firearms that we could protect ourselves and our homes with. Firearms that would keep our government honest. So we're darn sure these people that want to take them away, friends, they've got to be stopped. Well, let's start another shooting show. Let's get underway. Take our nylon 66 assault 22. Is that right? That's what which is not so at all. That's what the gun grabbers would call it, an assault 22. It's ridiculous. It's a little semi-automatic 22. Okay, let's, in fact, I think we're going to see here where the semi-automatic feature will really come in handy. Try that again. Take two. Ought to have about 8 or 9 left. Safety is on. Well, there's a trick to this, and I'm working on it. I'm not there yet. Okay. Edit 3, 2, 1. Well, today, friends, we're going to look at one of the neatest small handguns that I've come across yet. This is the Smith & Wesson 3913, and it is a 9mm handgun, and as you can see from the picture, it is quite a bit smaller than our full-size, our 10mm 1006 here. It is a much abbreviated model. It has an aluminum frame. The slide and most of the working parts here are made of stainless steel on this particular gun. Now, they make one also in blued steel where the slide is blue. I believe it's the 3914, and I know I am not completely up on all the Smith & Wesson numbers. They do make a wide variety of different models, and yes, their numbering system is confusing to most of us, myself included. But this is really an exceptional small handgun. It has a 8-round magazine, of course holding one in the chamber for a total of 9. We're going to unload it. And it is really a neat little gun. It has an ambidextrous safety. It has the Novak type sights, and we're going to take a closer look in just a minute. But it is a very well thought out, well made, and accurate little handgun. Now, I personally am not that big a fan of the 9mm as far as handguns go, with one exception. With the great Corbin ammunition here, you can take a 115 grain bullet, and we have chronographed this little gun, and that 115 grain bullet exceeds 1,300 feet per second coming out of this little bitty 3913. Well, friends, that's serious. That makes the 3913 and other small guns like it into a really serious self-defense handgun. And a lot of us have not had great results with 9mm ammunition in the past on game animals or in certain other applications. But you trust me on this one. This Corbin, it changes things entirely. In fact, the 9mm in our little 3913 here will actually outperform certain loadings of the .357 Magnum from very small revolvers. It's that good, in fact. So recoil is not that objectionable. All right, as in a double action revolver, you know, we push that safety off, and this gun has a magazine safety. Nothing will happen without the magazine in the gun. In fact, you can leave a chamber loaded and take the magazine out of this gun and it cannot be fired. You have to have the magazine in. Now, some people like the magazine safety, some people don't. I have heard of some police officers literally having their lives saved because when they were disarmed by someone, they hit the button there on the magazine release button on the side here, and it's in the same position as we're familiar with on most American type semi-automatics as the Colt 1911. Anyway, nothing will happen. See, the magazine is still in the gun. It hasn't come out, but nothing will happen. You can push the safety off and nothing will happen. So for some features, and if you have children in your home, this might be a safety feature you could take a look at, because you could actually leave the gun loaded and with safety off, or for that matter, take the magazine out, and you'll have to realize that this is this particular model. Most of the Smith & Wesson semi-automatics do have magazine safeties. Many more semi-automatics, like this Taurus PT908, and in fact, let me show you this. The PT908 is just a little bit bigger even than our 3913, and this is a very fine little gun in its own right, the little Taurus there. Anyway, certain other types like the Taurus do not have magazine safeties, and you take the magazine out, they can still be fired. And I've heard of a number of accidents. You know, some people are buying semi-automatics now that don't have a clue as to how they work. Just because you take that magazine out does not necessarily mean that that gun is unloaded. You may still have one in the chamber. So I've heard of accidents happening. People thought that they unloaded their gun, they took the magazine out, they forgot about that round in the chamber. And for people who are not going to think like that, this may be a good feature. Having a magazine safety, take the magazine out, it can't fire whether there's one in the chamber or not. And that is Smith & Wesson really has gone to great lengths to make their guns as safe and idiot-proof and lawyer-proof as possible. These are things that we're having to address now. It used to be in this country people were responsible for their own actions, and some of us still are. But according to some of the judicial system today, well, a person may not necessarily be responsible for his own actions. We heard of a mugger in New York who was attacking someone and possibly would have killed him, in fact, and the policeman got after this individual. Well, the man ran, the policeman shot him. All right, the mugger sued the city and won. Well, wait a minute, friends. What kind of justice is that? If you have a criminal who's running away from a crime he's just been committing, and the policeman shoots him, well, wait a minute. Something's wrong here. Something has got to be examined in our Justice Department. It's outrageous. Anyway, moving right along. These are among the very best guns of their type. Now, they're not inexpensive. These little guns are going to retail, or in most cases, for upwards of $500. But the good news is it is really a quality gun. Now, we've shot this gun a good bit here since we got it for the show, and it has yet to malfunction. Now, anyone who says their semi-automatic will not malfunction, well, they're in dreamland, friends, because any mechanical advice, I don't care what it is, be it semi-automatic or one of these great revolvers such as this 657, it doesn't make any difference. We have managed here on the program to jam every known action type, including single-action revolvers. Now then, the revolvers and the single actions are maybe not as likely, they're not as sensitive to malfunction as some of the semi-automatics, but for what we're seeing, the new Smith & Wesson semi-automatics are as reliable as anything that anybody else makes. And personally, I think that these little guns are among the very best of their type, regardless of price. Well, we're going to shoot the little gun. In fact, let's take a closer look at it and let you see just how it works. All right, edit. 3, 2, 1. Now, friends, you can see, of course, bear with our rain out here today. It rains in Louisiana. You can see the 3913 is really a small handgun as compared to my hand, a most potent package. The surfaces are so nicely machined and well made. Now then, here's your safety. It's ambidextrous, a lever on both sides, and it's down for safety on. Nothing happens. Up to fire. And of course we have a spurless hammer here. Now you can cock the hammer, you can start it back with the trigger and go ahead and fully cock it. But these guns have the excellent Novak type sights, which are very easily picked up. Really a nice package. Now then, to load the gun, we'll get our magazine ready here. And we'll put the magazine in the base like so, and be sure it is all the way in. Give it a good bump there. Push our safety on, pull the slide all the way to the rear, and you know me, let it go. And now, of course, our gun's ready to be fired. Well, we're going to show you the double/single action function. We'll push our safety off, and of course, we're shooting the full powered Corbin. Now then, let's line up those dots on our front sight, and we'll put it on the plate there, and yes, and knocked it right over. Now you see, now this gun is still ready to fire. The hammer is back, and of course we're being very, very careful. There's no one anywhere near downrange here. And you see the trigger is in the rear position. It's in single action mode now. So you're going to have to work at the transition. We'll go ahead and shoot this other steel plate here in single action. And you can tell, yes, it has a little recoil. And now we'll decock the gun. We'll push the safety down and watch the hammer and the trigger. Of course, always do this with the gun pointing in a safe direction. So you push the safety on, it automatically decocks itself. And this mechanism does work really well. Such a neat little gun. Okay, we're on. Edit. 3. Here we go. All right, edit. 3, 2, 1. Now, friends, we have our little 3913. Let's run a brief time trial here on just showing how rapidly you can get off shots. And of course, we're shooting the full charge Corbin, as we said earlier, just darn near a 357 Magnum and a 9mm. Really tremendous ammunition. Let me remind you that we have a limited amount of Corbin ammunition available through our Bullet Express to our Shoot and Show Gun Club members. And I think you'll be real impressed about that. We'll talk more about that later on in the show. But anyway, let's go ahead and turn it on. Turn our Pro Timer, of course, from Competition Electronics. And we're going to time. I'll go ahead and push the safety off, get in position. We'll run 5 shots. And let's see how long it takes, and we'll look at our at our group here on the paper, because a lot of us are going to be using this gun for self-defense. So let's try it. Okay, that's 5 shots, including my reaction time, of course, in 1.19 seconds. But look, they're all here in this little circle. So in this, and of course the first thing you saw me do, of course, was decock the pistol, put it back on safe immediately when I finished shooting. That's one thing about any semi-automatic, friends. It's going to take a little more work on procedure than it will take on the double action revolver. You've got to get out and shoot them and learn to use it. I've heard people say, well, here on the range, yeah, I'm having a little difficulty, but if I ever need to, I'll be able to do what I need to with it. Well, trust me, on this one, you may not. And people say, well, I can hit it if I have to. Well, why not practice on the range? When people say they're going to be able to do something in the heat of battle or whatever, friends, trust me, in a tough situation, you're going to do what comes most natural. You're going to do what you're trained to. That's why they train people in the military. That's why police officers are supposed to be trained. Sometimes they're not. They're supposed to be. Because when you get into a nervous, adversarial situation, you're going to revert to what your training is. If you don't have any training, well, you're going to revert to the proverbial confused fire drill. So what you need to do, you need to go out and become familiar with the gun. Practice shooting it from the hip. You know, you may have to do that one day, and you'll be surprised what you can do if you just work with the gun, learn how they operate, and learn definite safety procedures. And see, I decocked and put that gun on safe even without thinking, because I've trained myself to do that. It's so important. So go on out and shoot it fast if you have to, because you may need to know how to do that one day. And of course, the gun has told us it's ready to be reloaded. But let's take a look at our rapid fire group. 5 shots in 1.19 seconds. And as I've often said before, and let me say for the new viewers who are watching our program, yours truly here is the average shooter with a little practice. Any one of you can do at least as well as I can do if you take time for a little bit of practice, a little bit of work at it. And you know what, friends? Defense of your life and your loved ones, doesn't that deserve a little bit of work? You know, it really does. And these guns, what you're going to find out if you're new to shooting, with hearing protection, with proper eye protection, you're going to go down to the range, you're going to say, wait a minute, this is fun. I like this. So many women come down here that we've trained that have never really worked with a handgun before. They're afraid of them when they first see them, which is not a bad thing. It's nothing wrong being afraid of a gun if you're not familiar with them. Leave them alone. If you don't know anything about them, be real extra careful and cautious around them. But once they familiarize themselves with the guns, they will say, wait a minute, there's something to this, and I can do this, and yes, it is fun. Well, let's take a up-close look at our group here. Okay, edit, 3, 2, 1. Now, friends, you can tell, of course, I was fairly close to the paper, of course, when we were shooting, but the little 3913 is a very capable little gun. It can be shot accurately and fast. All right, Bill, we will freeze on this target, and we'll go to it in just a minute, but we can freeze frame on it. That'll work real good. Okay. All right, edit, 3, 2, 1. Now, friends, because the little 39s, 13s, and 14s, for that matter, that we've examined have really shown an unusual accuracy potential, we're going to shoot it from the bench today. We have our target out here at 25 yards. And let's shoot it on paper, and using the excellent carbine ammunition, let's just see what it will do. Now, bear in mind, this is just about a 3.5 or so inch barrel. Let's see what kind of group we get for 5 shots at 25 yards. Sure my hearing protection's in good. Yes, indeed. Get comfortable. Go ahead and cock the gun. Now then. All right, friends, let's shoot 4 more and see what the group looks like. Okay, edit 3, 2, 1. Now, friends, we've brought our target up and we have 5 shots, and yes, it is an impressive group here. We'll take our measure and take a look at it. As you can see, our group is in fact 2 1/2 inches center to center from the widest holes. So we got a 2 1/2 inch group for 5 shots, and realize this is full charged carbine. We have all 5 here. Now then, probably your shooter here let one get away from me. 4 shots right here are in a little over 1 inch. Now, friends, I tell you what, that is superior performance for one of these small guns. And of course, you can tell I will need to move the rear sight here over slightly to the left, but that's awfully good regulation. In fact, we're seeing that these little guns from Smith & Wesson will many times perform at least as well as the larger service models. It's really amazing what these little guns will do. Okay, edit 3, 2, 1. Well, friends, you can understand why I'm so enthused about this 3913, because you literally get the power of a small .357 Magnum revolver, and certainly the power of a full-size semi-automatic in a very small, easy to carry package. That's one of the advantages about this gun. They are easy to carry. You do have 8 rounds in the magazine and 1 in the chamber for a total of 9, which does give you a serious amount of fighting capability with one of these guns. They're so well made, and don't think, well, Smith & Wesson paid Johnny to say that, because as of yet, Smith & Wesson has not bought 10 cents of advertising on this program. So we wish they would. We can always use, we're certainly always looking for extra help, but we're telling you people this because you need to know about good products. Some of the stuff we get through here on the show is, shall we say, not as desirable as others, but this is one of the very best small handguns that we have yet come across. And as you can tell, the accuracy level with the full charge, full powered carbine ammunition. And I will stipulate that I think a whole lot more of these small 9mm with carbine ammunition than I do with standard 9mm, because many times your standard loading in a 9 is going to be about like or a little better than a .38 Special, which is not a particularly hot round. But when you get into the premium loading, such as carbine, it really takes on different characteristics. Well, let's shoot it again. All right, edit 3, 2, 1. Now, friends, you're always seeing me talk about bullet effectiveness here on the program. We have our volunteer water jug here, and let's take a look. We're going to run a little experiment here on our post. We can get it to stand there. Come on now. All right, we're going to shoot this water jug with a 9mm jacketed. Gotta be quick, Bill. Oh! Try this again. Maybe it'll stand there. Edit. 3, 2. Take two. 3, 2, 1. All right, friends, you've heard me talk about bullet effectiveness many times on the program. Well, we're going to compare Corbine 115 grain jacketed hollow point ammunition at 1,300 feet per second to a Brand X standard loading very similar to that, except it's going to be moving at standard 9mm velocities. Now you're going to see the jug break up, but let's see what happens here. We're going to shoot old Brand X first. Again, a standard 9mm 115 grain jacketed hollow point. All right, edit. 3, 2, 1. Friends, let's watch this Corbine. Edit. That's not it. Take 2. All right, friends, let's watch old Brand X here on this water-filled plastic bottle here, and just watch for energy transfer in comparison to it and the Corbine. Here is the Brand X, a major manufacturer. My hearing protection isn't good. Let's see what it does. Well, we can see here we have the hole in, and it came out over here, blew the, all right, edit, bring back up. Now, friends, we can see we had our hole in right here, and it blew right on through, came out over here, split the bottle, knocked the top off, and of course left a good bit of water in the jug. Now then, file 13. All right. Edit. I'm gonna come back up. Now then, here we come. Edit. 3, 2, 1. Now then, friends, let's try that same drill with a Corbine 115 grain jacketed hollow point on our same plastic water jug filled with water at about 1,300 or a little better feet per second out of this small gun. Out of a larger handgun such as a Browning High Power or Beretta or Taurus, or the larger Smith & Wessons, they'll run 1,350 or so. Even in our small gun, they'll still run 1,300. Take a look at our water jug this time. Woo! As you can tell, friends, much more dramatic. We don't have any water left. A large split here, hole in over here. It even split it going in. A large split blew the top off, and in fact almost separated the entire top. Much more dramatic energy transfer. I tell you what, friends, the Corbines hit a bunch harder. So yes, they do work, and you know I wouldn't be saying so if I didn't believe in their quality products so much. Now here's how to get more information on the fine lines of Corbine ammunition. All right. The one on the left here is Brand X. Let's see, get right here, Bill. The one on the left is Brand X. This is the Corbine damage to the same water bottle. I don't know if we'll use it or not. We could. Oh. Oh, edit. 3, 2, 1. Well, friends, maybe we can do something else before the rain starts. Yes, it's on the way. I think we're in the rainy season here in Louisiana. But anyway, here's an old This is a Harrington and Richardson single-shot shotgun. And the reason, Eddie, let's take that again. Let's start from the top. Edit, 3, 2, 1. Well, friends, looking around at the weather, hopefully we can get something else done here before the rain moves in on us. It won't be long. Yes, it does do some serious raining here in Louisiana, but hopefully we'll have some pretty days before long. Anyway, today we're going to look at a Harrington and Richardson single-shot shotgun. It's in 12 gauge. Now these are relatively inexpensive guns, but this design has been around since Moby Dick was a minnow, I think, for a long time anyway. It's a very successful design. You have the brake here beside the hammer, push it down, and the barrel and the action here separate. Of course, it has an automatic ejector. It'll throw the spent case out. This particular gun has a 3-inch chamber, and we actually measured this. The barrel is 27.5 inches long, or just a little bit longer than that. But these are such neat old guns. One, they're very fine hunting guns, squirrel guns, something like that. It does put a little more challenge into the hunt. You'll see some custom touches back here on the back. The stock was, of course, had no recoil pad, and I found one here on the farm that would fit the old gun, but it had some splits, so I just took some electrical tape and wrapped it around there, and hey, it works. You know, it's not fancy, but it works. A lot of times we get caught up in things that are fancy, sometimes that don't work, but there's nothing to be ashamed of. If you have something and it's not fancy, but it still works, well, so what? Who cares? You know, as long as it works. Now, some people who want a shotgun, this might be the only type of shotgun they could afford. And trust me on this one, a single-shot shotgun leaves you a long way from unarmed if that's all you have for home defense. They are very simple. Either they're cocked or they're not. And these guns have a transfer bar type safety. So even if you hit the hammer on this old H&R, this topper model, nothing can happen unless that trigger's pulled, because the transfer bar is not in place. The hammer can't contact the firing pin directly. So that's a very fine safety feature. These guns are very simple. They're light, they handle well, they point well. They're just not going to be fast to reload. Well, we're going to take a look at that in just a moment. But let's give another little demonstration here. You know, a lot of people think that if they have a shotgun, all they have to do is point and pull the trigger, and it's going to get everything on that side of the room. It's not so. Shotguns at close range have a small pattern. They have to be aimed to hit with them effectively. Now let's take a look at that right now. We have some bird shot here. Go ahead and insert the shell. Here, protection in. Our target is just a few feet away here. Let's take a look at it. All right, guess what? Our hole in the target, let's take a look at that. In fact, it's just goes to show you just what a tight pattern that a shotgun will shoot up close and personal. All right, again, we'll push our action brake here and watch that empty shell. See, it's thrown out of the gun. Let's take a look at our group here. All right, edit, 3, 2, 1. Now, friends, you can see this was one 12-gauge shotgun shot at a few feet. Now, that's not very big. I said group earlier. If you can have a one-shot group, you can tell just all the shot went through that little hole there. That's not too big. You see, friends, you could easily miss something running at you if you had to use it in a defensive situation. You really have to aim these things. Well, let's move out to 10 yards and see what it looks like out there. Okay, edit, 3, 2, 1. Well, friends, let's take another shot here with our 12 gauge. We're out at about 30 feet from our target. So let's see how big our pattern is. And this is probably, I don't know what choke this is. I'm going to say it's either full or it's modified choke. Yes, it says so right there on the barrel. Okay, let's take a look at about 30 feet. All right. Okay, edit, 3, 2, 1. Now friends, you can tell the entire pattern of the shotgun at 30 feet. The entire pattern is only a little bigger than 6 inches. Now that's at 30 feet. And of course here's the majority went through here. It looks like the shot cup went through here. Well, see friends, you've got to still aim a shotgun. You can't just point it and pull the trigger, because this was at about 10 yards away, and still it would still be easy to miss an intended target if you don't aim. All right. On. All right, friends, just out of curiosity, because a lot of people are curious, let's see how fast we can shoot this single shot shotgun by loading and shooting 3 times. Let's just get a general idea. Personally, the only way I would go for a single shot shotgun as defense, if that's all I had, and 2, I would want a handgun to back it up in case I needed those quick 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th shots. So what we're going to do, we're going to run a little experiment here, and I haven't done this before, but let's see what it looks like. Go ahead and load our 1-shooter here. And I'm going to put a couple of hulls between my fingers, like so I can load the gun. We're going to try this. Don't know how this is going to work. But we're going to get off 3 aimed shots, and let's see how long it takes. Again, I don't know because I hadn't tried this before, but we'll all find out together. Turn our pro timer on and go ahead and punch the button and get in position. Well, 7.91 seconds. So I was getting, about 2.5 seconds per shot. And I suppose if you practice that, and of course the old single shot from a barricaded position would have certainly some merit and some value. For hunting, you can load and unload pretty quickly, certainly quick enough for most game animals, I would think. But these are very useful guns. They would, for a hunt, they will give you a little more challenge to be sure that your aim is proper and you're making the best use of that one shot you've got. And as you can see, they can be unloaded and loaded, fairly, well, I won't say real rapidly, but they can be. Certainly that would be at a rate of 2.5 seconds per shot at about 25 or so rounds a minute, maybe, somewhere in that category. But certainly nothing to be sneezed at. They are potent. They're so simple. They last for years and years and years. Most of them do. They're easy to repair. And this is one single shot that this information may be useful to you. Okay, edit, 3, 2, 1. You know, friends, we get a lot of mail and phone calls about so many people now are concerned about their home protection. Well, what we recommend for certainly inside the home is not going to be the same as outside the home, but for inside home defense, probably a field load, a game load, say is number 8 shot, something like that. Something's not going to have a lot of recoil, but will have plenty of effect up close. This load will not go through multiple walls and appliances to injure someone else in your home, but trust me on this one, that bird shot or game load there, number 8s or so, 7.5 8s, are going to be plenty effective up close. Observe our water bottle. Well, as you can see, edit 3, 2, 1. You can see the tremendous amount of power that it hit that water bottle with, yet it completely tore it up, blew it up, but all of the shot did not penetrate to the other side. Edit 3, 2, 1. You can see, friends, on the water bottle here a dramatic amount of destruction, but yet we still have shot suspended in the bottom of the bottle here that did not go all the way through. Some of them did, but some of them stayed here. So what we're looking at, we don't have the penetration of, say, a solid bullet, certainly with the shotgun shell. So definitely, I would suggest for very close distances inside the home, birdshot will work just fine on just about anything you have to do. Okay, edit 3, 2, 1. Hello, I'm Johnny Rowland, your host of the Shootin' Show, and welcome again to this week's program. I think we have some great features for you today, some things that you're going to find interesting, whether you're a new shooter or someone who doesn't know much about guns, because we never try and forget about the new viewers that we have on our program. Since we reach into so many different areas all over the country, we have a lot of people that don't know much about guns who are starting to watch our show, and we do appreciate every one of you. And certainly we appreciate the advanced shooter, someone who is a gun enthusiast. So we want to have things that certainly intrigue the advanced shooters, but we don't want to turn off the new people. Certainly this is so important. The new people who are coming into our sport and finding out that, one, the police cannot protect them at home, and they're learning about things for home defense, things that are so important to all of us. Well, we do have a great show for you. Well, let's take our 870 Remington. All right, we'll come back in, stop on all of us, and we'll edit in right here. Edit 3, 2, 1. You know, friends, we're hearing information from all over the country. Some of the things that are reported as policy by handgun control is just outrageous. And what we're doing, we have a number of papers on some of the things. They're talking about a 20-year proposal, a 30-year proposal. Well, the objective, of course, is to disarm everyone who's a civilian who doesn't work for the government in the United States. Now, that is their objective, whether they admit to it or not. They literally want to take guns, they and the other anti-gun organizations, because it's not about gun control. It's about disarming the United States citizen. That's what it's come down to. And they'll never admit. They say, well, a little bit here, a little bit there. And friends, what happens is erosion. Now, you have a seashore or something, and you keep washing it away and washing it away, and we as gun owners have been in a defensive position for too long. Friends, it's got to stop, because they're going to piecemeal away all our rights as citizens to own, to keep, to carry, to use firearms. Now, what this all boils down to, we have the Nazi socialists in Washington who in fact want total control over everything. They want total control over health care, over the family, over the children, over all of us in every waking moment of our lives. You know, Adolf Hitler was not the only one. Joseph Stalin, Mao Zedong, these weren't the only tyrants in history. My goodness, no. The woods are full of them, friends. If you just give them an opportunity, give them a chance, there's always going to be someone who wants to tell you and I what we're supposed to do, how we're supposed to live our lives. And you know what? It's got to be stopped. We have got to stop them. The people that founded this country came over here to get away from the very tight government situations in Europe. So, hey, we don't want that. We don't want the one world government. We don't want it. What we've got to do is get back to some basic family values. And when these lunatics in Washington talk about family values, they don't speak the same language we do. They want people in their homes doing what they're told to do, doing what the government has decided and the social engineers have decided they want us to do. Well, we don't want it. And friends, we've got to stop it, because let me tell you what, if we lose this Second Amendment, it's over with. As a country, our freedom as we know it today, we don't want to answer to somebody in another part of the world. Let's worry about what's in our own country. Let's don't give the United Nations control over our armed forces. That's outrageous. It's probably breaking dozens of laws. It certainly should be unconstitutional, and I think it can be proven that it is. It's ridiculous to give any people from foreign countries jurisdiction over our military forces. Not so. We're not in a wartime situation like we were in World War I, where our forces were subordinate to, I believe, the French forces at that time were French general. No. Here we are, the strongest country in the world, the country who historically has had more freedom than any other group of people on the face of the earth. And friends, we're not going to let them take it away. We can't do it. We've got to wake up, and really that's what our program is about as much as anything else, is to wake up our population as to what is happening. Friends, we've got to do it. We cannot sleep through it. One day, if we keep on letting these small-minded people put another rope and another rope. Remember Gulliver's Travels? Remember the picture where old Gulliver was laid out there and he had all the little bitty ropes all over him, and he couldn't move because he had slept through the things that were going on around him. Well, friends, we as citizens and we as gun owners cannot sleep through it. We cannot. Doggone it, myself, a whole lot of you out there are not ready to give our freedom up. We don't want to do it. And we're going to be talking about some things you can do, and one of the things you can do is join the Shoot and Show Gun Club. Help us reach more people. Help us get our message out, not only as gun-owning Americans, how about as free Americans? How about as free Americans all over this country? We've got to get people away from the mind-numbing trash that's on so much of television. We've got to let them know that so much of what they see in the organized news media is just not true or heavily, heavily slanted. Friends, we've got to do something. The government line is not what we want to believe, because it's not true. It's absolutely not. You know, we are still responsible for our own actions. We are still responsible as people. And if we're going to remain a free people and not go back to a system of serfdom like was in Europe, like in the Soviet Union, hey, friends, we've got to start now. We've got to start doing some things about it. One of our viewers called up a week or so ago and said, you know, Johnny, I can't sleep at night because I worry about this thing. I said, hey, go on and sleep at night, because there are still things we can do. Friends, there is time left. Not a whole lot. We don't have time to waste, but we can do some things, and doggone it, now's the time to stand up and tell these yahoos, no, we're not going to accept it. We're not going to do it. We only need 5% of the general population. Friends, that's 12.5 million people. Well, on our program alone, in 6 months or a year, we can be reaching many times, or at least that number, and hopefully many times more than that, with your support, with our sponsor support, with the people we're working with. So, hey, let's get another shooting show underway. Freeze frame of the bullets. All right, edit, 3, 2, 1. Well, friends, we're going to look at an old gun today, and this old gun, in fact, has been in our family for a number of years. It is a 5-shot, top break, 38 Smith & Wesson. Now, not a 38 Special, but a 38 Smith & Wesson cartridge gun. It has, on the grip here, it says U.S. for U.S. Revolver Company, I believe. And if I'm not mistaken, these guns were made by Ivor Johnson or H&R, somebody, might have been H&R back, in the first part of the century. A good number of these guns have been out there for many, many years. I think this one dates from the early 1920s or maybe even the 19-teens. But the way it came into our family, we had a relative here in our parish, which is, most of you know, here in Louisiana. Parish is the same thing as county in wherever you happen to live outside our state. But I had a local sheriff who gave this gun to my grandmother for personal protection, for self-defense, for home defense. And in fact, my grandmother did have to use this gun one time. She had someone breaking and entering her home, and she took this old U.S. revolver, and literally she ran the man away from the house, didn't shoot him. And in fact, that's another point. You know, so many times we understand in the very best studies and surveys done, most of the time when a homeowner or an individual has to use a gun to stop a crime or literally make a citizen's arrest, most of the time nobody gets shot. Many times just the mere sight of the firearm and knowing that in fact that the homeowner or whoever in fact will shoot them, the perpetrator or the criminal does not want to be shot. It's ridiculous to think that removing guns from our homes is going to make us safer. That's just not true. It's a lie. Anyway, this old 38 S&W, I haven't shot this gun much in recent years, in fact, but we had it re-blued, I guess, back sometime in the 60s, so it looks rather nice. In fact, it's not terribly beaten up. We had kept it fairly clean over the years, but we did re-blue it. And this is not a gun that personally today I would carry or want to use in defense of myself or my family. First of all, the 38 S&W cartridge is not a very powerful cartridge. Here we have, I believe, 146 grain. This is factory ammunition from Remington. 146 grain lead bullet. And if you look in the picture, the 38 S&W is over on your left, and next to it is a 9mm, which it is similar in size to the 9mm. And of course you can see the 38 Special next to the 9, and over on your right is the 357 Magnum. Well, the 38 S&W, even though it is a similar size to the 9mm, develops nowhere near the pressures. And of course the factory ammunition is going to be loaded to a very mild velocity. We chronographed this earlier today, and the velocity, average velocity, was about 625 feet per second out of this small gun. Now, it is certainly not inconsiderable. Heck, I don't want to be shot with anything, much less this or anything else, but it does not have a great deal of muzzle energy or power. In fact, muzzle energy-wise, this particular loading is very similar to a .22 Magnum in a handgun. And I think the .22 Magnum, due to the nature of the bullet itself and its velocity, would be a much more effective round than this 38 S&W. Well, the thing is, there are a lot of these old guns out there. A number of people have these old guns in their dresser drawers at home, have them stuck away in a closet somewhere, or they may be in your collection. Well, you have to be extremely careful. And friends, if you're depending on one of these old guns for home defense, well, I believe I'd want to get something else. I'd see if I couldn't go down to a local gun store and trade it. If you need a gun for self-protection, to me this is not the best gun to have, because with what we think of today in our modern revolvers, with a number of safety features, well, these old guns, realized just after 1900, people were much more familiar. People that lived in the cities were much more familiar with how the guns worked. It has a little catch here on the hammer to keep the firing pin off a shell, but I would be real nervous about carrying the gun like that, because a blow on that hammer, if that firing pin was over a live round, might possibly fire it. And two, when the gun is empty, and we know of course this gun's empty, the cylinder will turn in this gun freely. Now honestly, I don't know, because I haven't examined enough old guns like this to know if that's how they work. I suppose they might have. When I was a little boy, my father said, well, he had seen guns like this carried with the firing pin hammered down on the firing pin between the rims of two cartridge cases. Now today, there's no possible way that I would carry a gun like that, because something might happen, that the hammer get pulled back or got pulled back, and then a cartridge case or a primer would come up underneath that hammer, and there's just too much danger involved. In fact, like I said, I would not carry. The only way I'll shoot this gun is for historical reference, or just out plinking or having fun. And of course this is an old gun. It does have some wear on it, so you have to be real sure, and we're going to shoot this gun in a minute, but we're going to be real sure that that cylinder is properly indexed. In other words, that the cartridge or the bullet is properly lined up with the barrel, so it would not maybe be off to the side. It was spit lead, it might tear the gun up. It's something that we really have to be careful about. However, as I said earlier, there are a lot of these old guns out there, and a lot of people, including some who watch this program, think, well, the gun's there, it's going to work. Well, friends, these are not like a toaster or some other appliance, especially these old guns. They require that the ammunition be changed. They require that you know the safety procedures. You know, anything that has a reaction, a rapid or sharp reaction like this gun does when a bullet's fired, like a chainsaw or say a blender in your home or a gas stove, you've got to know something about how they operate, because there's always a chance that the mechanism could malfunction, and you need to understand, one, how to clear it, and certainly how to maintain and operate it properly. It is so important. Well, let's take a look at our old U.S. revolver here, and it does have some redeeming features which were pretty nice. You know, the way, when we say top break, you have a latch here above the hammer there, and of course the gun literally breaks in half, and what it does, you have a little catch, it will push the empty cartridges out with the ejector star. Now, I don't know who was the first company to develop this. The early Smith & Wesson revolvers were like this, and what it does, it gives you very rapid unloading and reloading. See, you can break the gun down, your cartridge cases come out, you can load it quickly. It's very easy to reload. It's a very simple system, and in fact there are still some a couple of revolvers made today that are similar in the way they work. It's really not a bad idea. In fact, Navy Arms has a reproduction of one of the old Smith & Wesson revolvers that works very similar to this. It is a good and fast system. I think today probably the locking block here, I don't know how suitable that would be for, say, a Magnum revolver. The Magnum pressures really dictate probably a solid frame such as on this Smith & Wesson to completely safely contain those pressures, because you're darn sure if you had a high pressure shell in this old gun, you darn sure wouldn't want to break open while you were shooting it. Absolutely not. Well, let's take a closer look at our old U.S. revolver. Now friends, you can tell, edit 3, 2, 1. Now friends, you can tell that actually the old revolver looks to be in pretty good shape. It was never, I don't know how much it was shot over the years. It was a used gun when my grandmother got it, and of course I used to shoot it some as a kid. I really don't know how much use it's had, but here's how it works. You can see we don't have a latch on the side. You'll see this hinge right here. Now you have the latch on top of the frame there above the hammer. You push that latch up and see it breaks literally, and see the ejector coming out here. See, it'll come out and then it reaches a certain point and it snaps back in place and it's ready to be reloaded. Now these are very, very simple guns, and of course you can tell a very rudimentary rear sight there. It's on top of the brake latch there, and of course the front sight there is a thin blade, but they are an interesting part of our history, and they are fun to shoot and play with, for that matter. We'll be sure it goes there. It just goes back in place. All right, let's go ahead and load the gun and take some shots with it. Edit. And hold up, Bill. All right, here we come. Now then, friends, we'll break the gun down like we had before, and let's go ahead and we're going to load it. We have, and this is one of the advantages of this old system, if I can get them done there. It's very easy to load the gun. We'll just turn our cylinder around, get all the bullets in hand, and one more. Yes, indeed. And of course we'll close. Now I'm going to put the hammer in the cock, or slightly back, not cock, but and not half cock, but the little safety notch there, what it's called, and we'll go ahead and close the gun. Now then, let's go ahead and shoot it. And what I'm going to do, we're going to shoot it in single action and be sure it's properly locked up for each shot. But go ahead, let's put that little sight blade underneath our mark there and pull the trigger. And it has a little recoil. Well, let's shoot it again. And again, I'm checking to be sure that cylinder's indexed. And we'll line up our sight blade right there on the mark and edit. All right, we'll try it again. Cock the hammer, and it is locked up. All right, friends, let's shoot it again. Well, here we go. One. And let's try it again. And yes, it is locked. And here we go. Got another one. And let's go for 5. There it is. Like I say, being very careful to index that cylinder. All right. Put it back in the safety notch. We have all 5 fired. Well, let's go up and take a look at our group. Now, friends, actually, that's not so bad. Edit 3, 2, 1. Now friends, that's about a 2-inch group, and we're out here at several yards, which is probably better than I would have thought the old gun would have done, but in its day or when it was newer, and even now, if that's all you had, I suppose, it would certainly have defensive accuracy. But that's not such a bad group for an old gun with some old cartridges. Okay, edit 3, 2, 1. Now friends, for guns like this, old revolvers or old semi-automatic pistols for that matter, if you come across one or you inherit one in the collection somewhere, or maybe a family member has one, if you'd like to shoot the gun, please take it to a competent gunsmith and let him check it out, because you know, if an old gun like this has been under very damp or wet conditions or corrosive conditions, you might have a flaw in the cylinder or in the barrel and it could hurt you. Please do not shoot one of these old guns without having it checked out. And you know what? If the gunsmith tells you that it's not fit to shoot, well, look, you can put it on your wall. There's all kinds of things you could do with it. I would never keep one of these old guns loaded at home, because the possibility of someone getting hold of it or the possibility of an accident is just too great. Do not, under any circumstance, keep this gun or one like it loaded in your home. There's just no need in taking chances. And please, due to these things are extremely old, due to the nature of the old, a lot of old ammunition is out there. I will get it out in a minute. A lot of old cartridges are out there for these guns, so please do not ever shoot one. Even if you know the gun is sound and safe to shoot, never shoot one without eye protection, certainly hearing protection. There's no need in taking any sort of chance, because you might have something happen to the old gun, and you could have bits of powder or lead or whatever else that sprayed away from it, and there's just no need taking chances. So friends, my personal advice, unless you have the gun checked out like we did, at least the parts were solid, there were no internal flaws in the old gun, please, why don't you just not shoot them at all? Just keep them for decoration and historical reference. And of course, they are fun to shoot if you go through the proper procedures. But if you don't observe the proper safety and handling procedures on these old guns, well, you could hurt yourself. So again, they are fun. They can be used in plinking or informal target practice, or just certainly just wanting one is reason enough to own it, but I darn sure wouldn't depend on it. Well, let's shoot it one more time. So again, they are fun, and hey, the old thing still works.